Belt out your blackest poems as the sea around you sings. When that drone takes to the air, single note to raise my hair, carrying songs beyond my lungs, cold Scottish wind. Come fall upon my shoulders, Scottish rain, and dissolve all of the world has hunched the back of mine. So let the hurt run down the drain to the reservoir. One day I'll add a drop of my old worries to a dram.
All right, Jesus, I motherfuckers next door, they fucking won't stop bitching and moaning. I'm gonna have to go over there, crack them over the head with the bottle. This is what I'm drinking tonight, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I'm drinking Zingy Bear ginger beer, and I'm in Scotland. Look at this. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Mm-hmm. All right. Tyler's in the house. Constantine's in the house. My friends. I've got some clips tonight too, which will be fun to show. As you just saw, that was the hike I took today to Fairy Glen. Trip is going amazing. It's amazing. I mean, it's unfortunately almost over. I got 4 days left, so I'm on the Isle of Skye right now. It's raining. Oh, yeah, that doesn't work, does it? We'll take a look outside. I got a second camera hooked up ready for that. So everything's going great. It's amazing. It's amazing. All right, so it's grainy, but the audio is crisp. Yeah, there's nothing I can do on unfortunately. The router for the hotel is over that way, and you know, it is what it is. So but if the audio is crisp, at least you can hear my so sensual voice. That song is called Scottish Winds. It's by a band called Frightened Rabbit. They are the sole reason I fell in love with this country. More on that later. I'll come back and talk about that a lot more. I don't really feel like getting super emotional tonight. Andrew PCC. What's up, homie? Yeah, so right now I'm on the Isle of Skye, where I've been. This is my third time to the Isle of Skye, and it's my fourth time in Scotland. I absolutely adore this country. I fell in love with it in 2012, the first time I was here, and there's a lot of comics history in this country, obviously, as well as movie and TV history. And, you know, obviously beginning with the thing that maybe most of us 30 and 40-year-olds and maybe older know, the Highlander. But there's so much more. Well, Ty, I appreciate that. That's good to know. That's good to know. Amber, hola. Yeah, so it's 2 p.m. on the West Coast. It's 5 p.m. on the East Coast. And it's 10 o'clock here. The sun doesn't really completely go down in the summer here. Kind of stays. It gets a little bit darker, but it stays. You know, you can drive without headlights in the summer here, 24 hours a day. So yeah, I'm on Skye. I went hiking today. I'm going to go hiking at the Quering tomorrow, which is might be familiar to some people. The Old Man of Storr is a rock formation that's pretty well known. Most recently in movies, you could see it in the beginning of Prometheus. That was all shot in Scotland and Iceland. But comics history, there's so much of it. The Scottish writers, Grant Morrison, Mark Miller, Ennis is Irish, but Morrison and Miller are both Scottish. Declan Shelvey, he's a Scottish. No, he's an Irish artist. My bad. One of my favorite Spider-Man books takes place in Scotland. Spirits of the Earth by Charles Vess is all set in Scotland. By the way, I gotta show you something. Yes, the opening. So the opening of Prometheus is Iceland, and then when they're in the caves looking for the hieroglyphics, that's in the Quering in Scotland. Check this out. It just so happened I thought the lighting was going to be terrible for tonight, and then check this out. See that up there? I directed that light on me so that I could have that in the background. So let's take a look out there. If you can see, hold on, I might be able to unplug this. Nope, that ain't work. Oh yeah, there we go. Could take a look at the view on Skye, and I just wanted to show you guys that we can kill that camera. So yeah, this is what am I on? Day 12 of my trip. I go home on the 20th. I'm going from Skye to Glasgow, and then Glasgow I'll be in for 2 nights, and then going home. I already bought an extra suitcase for all the comics I purchased between London and Scotland. Some of you have been following some of my adventures on Instagram, and there's been a lot of fun content. We've had appearances from Comic Tim, and I went to a whole bunch of. I pretty much at this point went to 65, maybe 75% of the comic stores in Scotland, and I went to every comic store in London, or at least in the city center. I wasn't able to hit some of the, like suburb area. It is, well, you know what, Tyler, I mean, I'm sure you know this, but Nova Scotia means New Scotland. And Scottish people, I mean, that's the thing, like, right, that part of Canada and Scotland are, I believe they're on the same latitude, or at least close to it. So you get like fishing, you get ports, you get small towns. And I mean, I'm going to be sharing a lot of footage over the next couple of weeks once I edit everything together. It's going to be a lot of comics, obviously, because I am here buying tons of comics. But there will be a decent amount of just kind of travel, like scenery videos, because I take a lot. I definitely not taken a lot of as many scenery videos and pictures as I did my first couple of trips here, but absolutely love this country. And I implore anybody that's ever thinking about, if you're not looking for a vacation that's full of sun and beaches all year round, then, go to Scotland. Sunday sit down, Bob Ross. Exactly. Happy little trees behind me, Mattis. Am I going to visit the Duncan MacLeod Castle? Actually, Armando, I went. So the MacLeod Castle is on the Isle of Lewis, I believe. And I was there in 2012. It was actually kind of boring. Oh no, Dunvegan Castle. Yeah, it's the one on Skye. Maybe I will go to it tomorrow. So my plan for tomorrow is to go hiking at the Quarrying, because the last time I was there, I got up there and a hailstorm came in. And but tomorrow maybe I'll go to Dunvegan Castle. Dunvegan. And then I'll go to the Quarrying. But that is, the Duncan MacLeod Castle. What's up, Spider Cave? Oop, there he is. All right, so I'm going to show you another clip. If you were following on Instagram, I went to a store. Yeah, there can only be one, and I'll try not to lose my head. Dude, I will challenge anybody to a duel in this country and probably get stabbed a whole bunch of times. So I went to a store there's literally 2 comic stores in Edinburgh. There is Forbidden Planet, which is, it's like the hot topic of comic stores. And then there's a store called Deadhead Comics. And it's funny because I was the last time I was the only other time I was in Edinburgh was 2019. And I went there, but they were closed. And I went to the bookstore that's next door. So this time I found out, somebody told me to go there. I was warned ahead of time that, he kind of opens and closes whenever he pleases because he's a little bit of a drunk. But he's really friendly and he lets you dig through books, but they're dirty and they're not bagged and boarded. This was all told to me by somebody that works at Mega City Comics in London. I went there twice in 2 days because upstairs is all these like short boxes and they're like mostly unsorted. Unfortunately, everybody in fucking the UK comic store scene doesn't care about condition of books except for Mega City. Um, books like unbagged and boarded kind of flopping over on each other and all that. But when I talked to the gentleman who owns it, very friendly, just like the guy said, he's like, oh, I get a whole bunch of stuff downstairs. Yeah, good. Welcome to go look. And so I'm going to show you a clip. Now I showed pictures, but I was using my GoPro, and GoPro shoots pretty much exactly how the eye sees when it comes to light, whereas like the way the iPhone shoots, it takes in all the light. So you can shoot without a flash on an iPhone in a dark room, and if there's any light source, it's going to suck all that light in. So let me show you what the basement of Deadhead Comics looks like shot with a GoPro, which is pretty much exactly how I saw it. Yeah, check it out.
Whew.
Smelly down here.
Yeah.
So he sleeps in
I went
that.
to-
Lives in-
Cool.
Oh, wow.
There they are.
All right. Well,
I'll just let you get on with it. All right.
let's see what I can find. This is crazy. I will. I'll be careful. No.
All right, so that space in between, like the place where the boxes were against the wall, and then the workbench where the boxes were, was like this. I mean, I'm not a small dude. I'm not huge, but that's about me at my widest. And there were spiders. He told me there were spiders. It was musty because like the sink that was in that corner leaks onto the floor. So if you saw me, I posted a photo on Instagram. Uh, all these copies of X-Men 282, the first Bishop. There was like 30 copies, but that box was on the floor, and they were all water damaged. And like they easily, like they could have been fixed with a press and all that. But I wasn't going to bring water damaged books back with me because it would have just ruined everything else. And so, like, I'm not trying to bring, that kind of shit back home. So the first day I went there, like, I didn't have any gloves, and my fingers I look at a lot of paper. I touch a lot of dirty and dusty paper, and my skin, I have psoriasis, so my skin cracks really easy. So I was like, kind of with like the smell and all that. Yeah, that's the thing, Tyler. Like there was boxes that weren't on the floor that like when I picked up a book, even, you could just tell there was moisture in it. So, there was only a certain caliber of book I would have bought with that kind of water damage, or even just a little bit, because, if it's a couple $100 book, then it's worth bringing home. £2 per book, which is about $2 and like $2.60 or something like that. So the first day, I got a huge stack, like that big. I thought I was going to find a couple of huge books. Like there were sniffs of NYX3, NYX3. There was a little sniff of the Ultimate Fallout kind of, stuff like that. Yeah, that's the thing. Like it first of all, it was disgusting. So many reasons. There wasn't like, like I wasn't afraid or anything. That dude was so nice and so cool. And he trusted me enough to go down there, especially with my bag. But there were, like I said, spiders. It was dusty and dingy, but I dug through almost everything. There was 6 long boxes all the way in the back. Let me see if I can show you. Let me just pause it and see if I can show you. So there were 6 long boxes towards the back left, all the way in the back left corner, and I would have to move almost everything out of the room to get to those boxes. So I dug through what I could that day. The next day, I went to a drugstore. I got gloves. I got a flashlight, or a torch as they call it in Scotland, in the UK. And I just went down there and I was like, hey, he came in from the bar at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon because he said, if I'm not here, I'm over around the corner at the bar. And he's like, can't start the day without a pint, you know? More like 6. But anyway, dude was sweet, really nice. He's like, you're a fucking legend. You know, that's he loved the fact that I came down there. I told him about the YouTube channel. He might be watching right now. And you know, I told him I was going to be plugging his store, which I think it's great. Like, there's so much stuff in that store to buy. But Dr. Von Hoot's Comics from the Spiral Dimension in the house. So we're talking about Deadhead Comics, where I spent pretty much 2 days digging. So many books there. There's definitely somebody that went in there and picked out some of the bigger, or some of the keys, because like I found a huge bunch of Old Man Logan #1s, the first part, the Wolverine 88, first Deadpool Wolverine. But there was what was missing. I found a whole box of New X-Men, the title that Morrison and Quietly were doing. Frank Quietly, believe he's Scottish. And the first Phantom X was missing, but I found every other issue in multiples. Anyway, there was definitely an NYX3 in there at some point. There was most likely a bunch of Fallout there. All signs kind of pointed to that. I found a lot of Spidey stuff, but like most of the books that were there in quantity were from, I don't know, like 2005 on, or 2003 on. There was some like back issues. There was a lot of X Factor hanging around, a lot of X Force, but it was so much. Like, as much as I don't like the fact that those fucking spiders probably crawling on me the whole time, I really had a lot of fun in that store. So if you're in Edinburgh, go to Deadhead Comics, bring a headlamp, ask them if you go downstairs, but look at everything upstairs first. Like, I didn't pick the bones off, you know, I didn't pick the meat off the bones in there. I wasn't buying like stuff that was like $10 and $15 books. Just, I can't bring all that back with me. But I was trying to find like weird stuff and, you know, books that I know that, like, you know, I'm going to at least make some money on when I come back. But yeah, he was a really nice guy. I didn't catch his name, and I'm sorry about that. Like I said, he subscribed to the channel. We watched a video together. He was really sweet. It's a great shop. He's got a dog, an old shop dog. He's got another guy that comes in that's I guess works with him. That's kind of gives off the Scottish fisherman vibe. And it's just a really cool shop. And it is really the only place in Edinburgh you can get back issues and that you can dig. You can go, so for those who are unfamiliar with the UK kind of structure, they don't really have antique stores. There's vintage clothing stores, but there's charity shops. And it's basically like the idea of like every charity that is like maybe a national charity has shops in every big town. And it's like it's a thrift store. Oxfam is probably the biggest one. So I went into a couple of them, and I went into the Oxfam that was over by Deadhead Comics. And let me tell you, the dude at Deadhead's charging £2 per book. The Oxfam shop's charging £7 per book, no matter what fucking book it is. I looked at it just in case there was like a big book. Such a ripoff. That's not charity. That's extortion charity. But when you go to the smaller towns in the UK and you go to the charity shop, so you get you know, like real prices. Anywho, so that was Edinburgh. I fucking love that city. Honestly, look, I'm not a world traveler. I've never been to Budapest, or I've never been, you know, to some of these really old cities. I've never been to Rome or anything. Edinburgh is by far my favorite city I've ever been to. Like, Old Town Montreal is the only thing that I can kind of really compare it to in North America. And that doesn't even come close to the beauty of the history that is Edinburgh. You get the odd antique store, but for an OH, yeah. I think I saw like 3 signs for antique stores since I've been in the UK altogether. But the charity shops, like, right, you know, you get one city block will have 6 of them in a row. It's funny because, like, there was an antique store I went into in London in 2016, and I bought was Eternals 1 and 2 pence copies back. Yeah, it was back before anybody had any idea. Yeah, I guess it was 2016. Yeah, there was going to be an Eternals movie. So, future goal could be me opening up a shop in Edinburgh. I wouldn't be putting Deadhead out of business. Would pick another side of town to do it in, but that would be a lot of fun because Forbidden Planet's not competition. I mean, they sell new books. This is how bad it is at Forbidden Planet. I went in there, actually took some video in there, and like it's split down the middle in the Edinburgh store where it's like toys and stuff on one side and comics on this side. And I went to look at the new comic rack just to look at like what they had and what was out. And I saw 2 spoiler variants of that Spider-Boy book sitting on the rack, and they were just like ticked out to shit. It was like somebody purposefully just destroyed them. It was probably Diamond, but anyway, that was my experience there. Edinburgh is such a fantastic town. I probably walked 35 miles in 4 days because you walk everywhere in that town. There's no need for to take public transportation, really, unless you really have to get somewhere on a schedule. So from there, I drove up to Anstruther to go visit my friend Grant and his wife Jay's cider shop. Grant's an old friend of mine, and I wanted to see their cider shop. It's such a nice, cute little town. Another place that I don't know if it would support a comic store, but would be a nice little town to open up a comic store in. With all the people that hate Spider-Boy, I wouldn't be surprised if they were trashed out of spite. I don't know. Maybe the Scots hate Spider-Boy too. Hey, fucking that Spider-Boy, eh? I don't know what that was. Anyway. So Anstruther, but not before stopping in God, I'm gonna screw up the name of this town. Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna comic store. Can't remember the name of the store. What the hell is it called? Hold on. It's called We Could Be Heroes or Little Shop of Heroes. Hold on. Let's see. Give me 1 sec, y'all. I think it was Little Shop of Heroes. Anyway, but he's the next Spider-Man. Yeah, Mattis, exactly. All right, so oh my God. Okay, so there's a store in Dunfermline called Little Shop of Heroes. So I went up there on my way up to Anstruther, and very cute shop. Basically, like the back issues that they have out were all £1 each, and there was a lot to dig through. And so I started digging through, but I started getting into a conversation with them. Like I said, it's called Little Shop of Heroes. And they just got nominated for the retailer Will Eisner Spirit of Retail Award. So at San Diego Comic-Con next week, the Eisner Awards get handed out, and they are a finalist for best retailer in the world out of like 5. And they were such nice people. Oh God, I can't remember their names. Anywho, hopefully they're watching. But it was such a great little store. They had pretty much every trade you could think of. For a small town, it was like there was a ton of selection, and they were telling me that people don't even sell them collections. They say people just come in and donate stuff because like it's just a different vibe. Not everybody's trying to make a buck, especially because there aren't ways to really sell comics if you don't have a store out in Scotland. And yeah, they were really nice people, and I really hope they win that award. They said they had like 10,000 back issues downstairs they needed to sort through. 10,000. Let me tell you something. This ginger beer I'm having, which is Zingy Bear, smells like feet, tastes like ginger beer. I don't get it. I'll try not to smell it. Anywho, so that's Little Shop of Heroes. So if you're going from to the north of Scotland, stop off. I'll be, obviously highlighting all of these stores on future episodes. I bought a GoPro before this trip. Shot like fucking like 5 hours of footage already. It's gonna be a hell going through it all and editing, but that's all good. So then from there, I went up north to Cullen, and now I'm in Skye. No more comic books to be found up here. I'm literally on a beautiful island that has no comics, but I will be ending. We'll be ending my trip at Glasgow, at Glasgow. So I'll be going to City Center Comics and whatever else is still open. Unfortunately, the vibe in the UK, from what I've understood, and Dr. Von Hoot can probably attest to this, is that a lot of shops got killed by COVID. They went mail order or they just closed. And it's a shame because like we had shops that closed in the States, but we also have like more shops, so the ratio to shops that closed to shops that exist is we still have more shops that exist. Yeah, I see the Wi-Fi bar went up again. Dude, I love the smell of IPAs. Now, mind you, I haven't had a sip of an IPA in almost a decade, but I still love the smell of them, which I can understand people not. When you bought your GoPro, Dave, you used it for everything. It's so much fun. I used to have a GoPro. I bought one like right when I moved to the Northwest, and then I used it while hiking, but kind of just got bored of it. But I have the Hero 9, so it's a lot more versatile than the Hero 3 that I used to have. Yeah, that's what everybody kept saying. Like all the stores I went to, where people would just tell me like, "Oh, this one closed, this one closed." Like Orbital closed in London, and everybody said that one there was so many comics. Yeah, I get it. Oh, I do love the smell of pine. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the tomorrow. It's really funny. Like the trip I came here in 2019, which was 2 weeks in Scotland, no London. I had hit up Neil Gaiman on Twitter. He does answer tweets a lot, and I know he has a place here in Skye. And I said I was going to Skye. What would you recommend I see? And he said the Quarrying, and I was familiar with the Quarrying by photo, but not name. And that hike was beautiful. And I know I'm not going to get sun tomorrow, but hopefully won't rain. At least it won't rain. Bryce is in the house. What's up, Brycey Bryce? Bryce Cakes. Oh, the quality just went up again. No, it just went down. All right, you know what? I do want to make a special announcement, but I wasn't going to do it yet. But you know what? Bryce is here. And yeah, okay.
You won with the Scottish land. I've decided to just be one with the Scottish land and earth. And well, it's been really nice. Comic books were cool. But I think I'm done. It's too much dark rock. It's too much Turok out there. Everybody else can enjoy it. All right, bye.
All right, so yeah, I'm quitting comics. Moving to Scotland to walk the land. Yeah, that makes sense. The Britain. Not Britain, the Britain. If you're not going to visit Scotland, you're doing it all wrong. It's so beautiful. I do have one more clip of an interview I did while I was here. It's only a short little interview, but I hope you all enjoy it because might have been my favorite interview I've done so far.
Top 10 books are of the week. Anybody?
I tried.
How are you? Hi. Anybody know Comic Tim? Excuse me. Yes, hi. Top 10 of the week? Maybe? Spec books? No? Anybody know what movie's coming out that might increase the price of a... Oh, that one. Okay. Do you know anybody that might have a copy? No? Anybody?
Here's a fun fact. Sheep don't like it when you talk to them. Sheep really don't like it when you sing to them. I have an old video of me singing to sheep last time I was here. Comic enemies. Yo, they got some back. Sheep got back. They got that woolly back. See, look, it's still not dark out and it's 10:30. He's going to live with the mildew and spiders now. There. Top 10. Exactly. You guys are enemies because of the X-Men. Obito Comics. What's going on? Who's that? That's a little Gwenpool. Obito Comics. No, I was going to say that's a palindrome, but it would be Otibbo instead of Obito. Sheep like it when you talk dirty to them. They don't like singing. Last time I was in Scotland, I have a video of me singing Creep, Creep, to sheep. But instead, I changed the lyrics from I'm a creep to I'm a sheep. And they all walked away. There was like 60 of them. And they all just walked away. Anywho. So yeah, it's been a fantastic trip. I really implore everybody that's thinking about coming up here. There's really, look, if you're afraid of rain and cloudy weather, and you think that's going to really make you sad and not enjoy yourself, then maybe you come here in June, May. Hello, it's July. I don't know, but I actually prefer off season. October, November, December, be a little bit colder, but nobody. You can stay in all these nice places and all that stuff, and it's so cheap, and you don't have to worry about it, being next to some loud American. And I'm not the loud American today. Thank you. I appreciate it, Trip. I appreciate it. I am going to be a sheep herder. I'm not good at it though. I'm good at driving them away, but not driving them to where they need to go. 'Cause I'm a sheep. I'm a wool. Anyway, I am kind of looking forward to getting back to work, but not really. I miss all y'all. I'm excited to edit some of this content and all this stuff I shot, and really do like some, really good videos on this, because I do have a lot of footage. Yeah, that's right. Today's Sunday. Tomorrow, a new episode of It Came From the Newsstand drops, which is the podcast that I have with Manu on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Google, and a couple others. I'll give you a little preview. I'll just tell you what the episode's called. It's called Across the Curmudgeon Verse. That's gonna be a fun one. It relies heavily on. We talk a lot about Across the Spider-Verse, because at that time it was like 3 weeks after the movie came out, so we just went into spoilers and stuff. Dibs on my comics. They're actually going to Miss Terry. September is when you want to hit here. Chances are you'll get rain, but not too cold. Yeah, that's like one of the only months I haven't been here in. There you go. September from someone that lives here. There you go. I'm looking forward to it. Sales will be fun. I have a ton of stuff, and just not looking forward to like getting back into organizing everything. But whatever. It is what it is. I'm excited just to show y'all the haul. I literally have a small suitcase in the car full of comics. It's packed, ready to go. Like, that's my carry-on for the plane. because there's probably like $2,000 in comics in there at least. A graphic of Dave in a sheep shepherd's outfit. See sheep, herd sheep. Me and Tyler taking the Todd pages. Yeah, like I'm not gonna go back to the States and bring that home. I bought some original art actually. So I went to a store. I forgot about this. I went to a store in Aberdeen called Asylum. Okay, I totally forgot to talk about this. Much like that store I just showed you the clip of in the spider basement, this dude had his whole inventory downstairs in the basement, except it was all priced like wildly high, like insanely high. And once again, Scotland, more so than London, because those people use bag and boards in those stores. Scotland, no bags, no boards, doesn't give a shit about condition, but charge price as if it was like a raw 9.8. Needless to say, I didn't buy any comics there, save for one. That's in the car. But he did pull out a whole drawer of original art, and I got a couple of Declan Shelvey pieces, which they're in the car, so I didn't want to take them out. But one's a Punisher piece, one's a Beta Ray Bill piece, and then I got a page from a Death's Head comic. Anyway, Asylum Games, check it out, but you're gonna be real disappointed by the prices. Like, there were books in there that were like $20 keys that he was charging £40 for. And out of season, out of season's always the best time to come. You guys fight. You do it. Fight real well. So anyway, looking forward to showing that off too. I hope everybody watches the McFarlane video I dropped today. I know it's like a short one. It's like literally 4 minutes of filler and then like 8 minutes of episode. I'm on vacation. All right. I didn't want to do a big edit job. Either way, please watch it. Just watch it. Let it run. Click a like. Anyway. Oh God. All right. I promised him I would show this clip. You guys probably know what's coming. I'm sorry.
Whoa! Whoa, man! Where am I? Oh, man! I know where I am. I'm in the home of the big monster that lives in Ireland. What's that? Bessie, yeah. Yeah, this is Loch Bess, I believe. That's what it's called. I'm looking for Bessie. Have you seen Bessie, man? Wow. I wonder if I could find her if I dive in there. Why don't I go find out? Whoa!
You ever notice how Comic Tim pops into frame as if it's a surprise? Anyway, that guy. McFarlane Turtles episode. How am I gonna? I can't do an episode on a cover and a pinup. That would literally be 35 seconds. It'll be part of an episode, though. You guys thought I was gonna not know about those two things. Hobbit or Gollum? I'm more likely to become Gollum than a Hobbit, although I have eaten a lot and I keep putting food away. So maybe I'm a Hobbit. Well, Gollum, no, he was one of the river folk. All right, so I don't know how he made it. We lost 3 people on the stream because of the Comic Tim thing. I don't know how he made it through customs. I'm on vacation and the dude is here. It's almost like he's wherever I go, he follows. My buddy and me, kid, sister, kid. Okay, we just lost another one. Well, I'm glad he's somebody's anything. Look at this sediment. Anyway, yeah, I didn't see the Loch Ness Monster, unfortunately. I haven't seen any ghosts yet, but who knows? Still time. Probably see ghosts of a lot of people in Glasgow because I feel like a couple people told me Glasgow was kind of like what happened with Seattle and Portland. The downtowns just got decimated by COVID and haven't really recovered. But I don't know. We'll see. I'll see. Unfortunately for you all, I'm bringing back a lot of books for sale. Or fortunately, Bryce and Tyler are going to be like knifing each other for Spider-Man books. I got a couple of weird X-Men things. Like I bought a lot of stuff. I know Andrew's probably going to be, like hating me after all the crazy Spider-Man stuff. Yeah, it's going to be bad. It's going to be great, but I'm going to pump that sale up because it's going to be like so much UK stuff. I wouldn't be upset if I started a new little trend of people that, looking at UK stuff. It's going to be a fucking bloodbath. How's everybody doing, though? How's everybody been filming? Anybody reading anything good comic-wise? I read a cool Godzilla manga that I brought with me, and then I bought this. I do enjoy when something like of a literary classic gets made into a graphic novel. But I was at a store in London, and the guy suggested this to me. This is The Man Who Laughs, based off the Victor Hugo book, illustrated by David Hine and Mark Stafford. No, Hine wrote it, and I think Stafford is the artist. Let me see. Yeah. Hine adapted it into the graphic novel format, and then Stafford is the artist. And it's cool. It came signed and sketched by Stafford. It's great. I haven't finished it. Obviously, it's a classic. The inspiration behind the Joker 2. And schmutz on there. And I'm really enjoying that. Don't know if it's available stateside, but if it is and you see it, pick it up. It's really good. It's enjoyable. Picked up the Marvel's Heroes and Villains coloring book. There's one Todd page in it, and that's awesome, Tyler. Send me a picture of the cover of that book. I'm not even familiar with that book at all. I mean, I'm sure I've seen most of the images in it, but I don't think I've ever seen that book. What's up, Daryl? I'm having a fantastic trip. This is probably the most relaxed I've been in a long time. I'm sleeping like 8-9 hours a night, which hasn't happened in a long time, probably 4 or 5 years. And I'm eating great food. All the food in Scotland's, generally fantastic, very fresh. Most of the restaurants, especially out in places like Skye, most of the restaurants buy their produce and their, meat from local farms. And obviously a country like this is all farming, and then fishing obviously goes on just out there. And if you haven't seen, let's see. Let's give you guys, let's see if I can get this second camera working to show you outside. Anyway, it's a lot easier to show you when it's a little bit lighter out. Now we're Inception. I saw Indiana Jones. I really enjoyed Indiana Jones. I'm not exactly sure why some people really hated it, or if the hate is really real, or if it's just internet hate. Would like to see Mission Impossible and Barbie and fucking whatchamacallit comes out next week or this week, Oppenheimer. It's nothing but blank pencil and inks from the comic issues. It's pretty cool, but since it's black inked, yeah, it's the original line art. Trying to find a paperback on Green Lantern, Green Arrow. Actually almost bought the first trade paperback of the Denny, or it was like a little bit. Must have been like a bunch of the issues from the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams run, which I still want to read it. I didn't talk about Blur. Blur was amazing. I mean, first off, I saw Blur at fucking Wembley Stadium, which was insane. I forgot that happened after, because I did Saturday Sitdown last week. Saturday. Seeing one of my all-time favorite bands at home in the largest possible place that they could play was unbelievable. And for those who don't know Blur, for those who know the American people that know Blur, you remember the song 2, woohoo, and Boys and Girls, and there's some songs that broke in America. But Damon Albarn went on to create another worldwide huge band, Gorillaz. But he is the lead singer of Blur. Graham Coxon and Alex James and Dave Rowntree are the other 3 members in Blur, and they've always been a band that I've loved. And to me, like, they are British music for my generation. Obviously the Beatles and all that stuff, the British invasion was something different for parents, and I love all that. But Blur was like the first British band that I fell in love with. And seeing them in Wembley Stadium, which is probably the only stadium I ever thought that I wanted to see, like the only stadium that I was ever familiar with. And for those of you that are my age or around my age, it was the Freddie Mercury concert. It was what was it called? Something Live Aid. And I remember seeing that size of that place. I was just like, wow, could see a concert with that many people. And yeah, it was amazing. Andrew, thanks for asking, because I totally forgot that I didn't talk about that. And I'm going to be throwing some clips up of that in the videos too. I picked up a little run of X-Men from 168 to 210, some issues, TMNT books. Oh, you started a comic? Mattis, did I know that? Are you trying to get the Uncanny run? Because that's a favorite among comic people in this chat right now. India was awesome, and so is the new Mission. Yeah, I'm excited to see Mission Impossible. Kind of sucks that the next one's going to be delayed indefinitely, but support the strike. Fuck the studios. I got a big pickup coming in tomorrow that I can't wait to share. Ooh, somebody got an early ASM, I think. Live Aid. Yeah, that's what I was. I blanked out. I wanted to call it AIDS Life, but that doesn't make any sense. And then the tribute to Freddie Mercury concert where fucking Annie Lennox and Bowie did Under Pressure. Oh my God. It's still one of the most moving live performances ever. It's for a Spider-Boy 125. Craziest populated concert I've ever seen is videos of Metallica in Moscow. Yeah, the Moscow shows are insane. I remember when Billy Joel played there in the 80s, and it was a big deal. And it's because those, it's because those places don't get the American or British acts, the big acts that often. So when they do, 80,000, 100,000 people, whatever it is. So one of my buddies, my buddy who lives in Scotland, anyway, long story short, buddy's playing a couple of shows in South America, opening for The Cure in like 2 weeks. And yeah, those are going to be soccer stadium shows. There's going to be like 80,000, 90,000 people there. And it's just like, I don't know how to, as a performer, I couldn't imagine processing that amount of people as a person at the show. I mean, that was my first, I've been to festivals before that have, 100,000 people. I've been to Lollapalooza, whatever. But there's a different vibe when you're enclosed in a stadium, and that you can see everybody that's in there. When you're at a festival, you can only really see 1,000 people in each direction, but you can't see the depth of what that looks like unless you're in an aerial view. But when you're in a stadium, you're just like, holy shit. And then you hear it. It's something else. So yeah, I mean, if you ever get a shot to go over to the UK to see somebody at Wembley, I mean, there's a lot of rumors going around, and take it for what it is. But 2 years, Oasis is getting back together, or next year, which will obviously send people into fucking madness. And as much as I enjoy, What's the Story, Morning Glory, and you know, some of the songs off their other albums. Those two just seem like fucking assholes, and I can never really, you know, it's like Slash never seemed like an asshole, but Axl did. So like I can handle one asshole personality in a band, but not two. It's too much. Lars kind of seems like an asshole. James Kirk, they don't. Robert. So it's like one asshole per band is usually a good ratio to no asshole, you know, to the other ones. Although, I mean, Roger Waters, David Gilmour both seem like assholes, but Pink Floyd's not around anymore. It's just, you know, the separate. Anywho, but yeah, that was fantastic, and I can't wait to hear the new Blur album, which comes out on Friday, I guess. It's called The Ballad of Darren. All the dudes in Dunman, yeah, all the dudes in that band are assholes, but it's just one asshole. So trying to get from like 158 to 230, something there were issues my dad had. So that's pretty cool. I mean, there's a couple of decent books in there, like Bryce Wise. The rest of it's, you're not going to break the bank on it. Shouldn't be too hard to find either. Yeah, seriously, like Liam and Noel just seem like both fucking bellends. Like that's just the truth. They made some really good music, although none of it really felt, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, but none of it really felt super original. It's like you listen to them and you're like, yeah, we get it. You're really good musicians. You write some decent lyrics, but you know, like you listen to the Beatles a lot. So, you know, whereas Blur, they branched out, they got a little bit different, they evolved. And then when they broke up, you know, obviously spawned Gorillaz. And, you know, Graham had his own career and the rest of those guys did what they did. But then when they got back together and started making music again, it just sounded fresh. You know, I'm of the mind, Bullseyes, that if you find something you love or a place you love to visit, you don't just go there once, right? You go back. And, you know, I know it's not, you know, everybody's into doing travel that way, but you know, before I moved to the West Coast, I used to go to LA a lot because I liked LA. But Scotland is a place that I fell in love with in 2012, and I'll go briefly into it just because this gets like super emotional for me. But I had friends that were in a band called Frightened Rabbit, and I got to be really good friends with them. And the lead singer Scott at the time, he told me, he's like, you should come over. We're doing a tour of the Highlands and the Islands, and they're a relatively big band in Scotland. They were, and he said they may not ever do a tour like this again. And they were doing the Islands and the Highlands, so I said, "Fuck it, let me just go." And I did, and I did 5 days in the Highlands and the Islands with them, and I got to see Scotland, literally like the craziest trip for the first time. And so I've been back a couple other times. It's just such a magical land. Like if you know, I've never been to New Zealand, but obviously Peter Jackson's depiction of New Zealand in Lord of the Rings, we got to see a lot of it. And it's the closest thing I can really think of is like equating what Scotland looks like to what New Zealand looked like on screen. It's just, I like mountains, I like water, I like quiet places that don't have a lot of people. The Scottish people are very sweet. I've never really had a bad interaction with a Scottish person in this country in the 4 times I've been here. It's like the opposite of unsafe. It's like one of the safest places you could think of, like not just like people-wise, but there's only like 2 animals in the entire country that could kill you. There's a couple of bears, and I think there's 1 poisonous snake. 1. That's it. But it's beautiful, and the people are friendly, and there's lots to do if you're an outdoor person. But if you love history, there's, you know, one of the oldest pieces of civilization that has written history is Scotland. So it's such a great fucking place. And it's comics rich history too. When you release a song like Wonderwall, you got to be I quite like Don't Look Back in Anger, because that is a great song. You know, and start collecting if I didn't buy that chunk of books. And yes, Bryce, that is why I keep showing up at your mom's house, because I enjoy coming twice. Hate Oasis lead singer's voice, and they tried to say they were bigger than the Beatles, and they were dead to me. Well, that's the thing. I mean, like Dr. Von Hoot said, a bunch of fucking knobheads. Anyway, Bullseyes, I hope that explains why I love it. As somebody that moved from New York to the Northwest to kind of like live a, I don't even want to say a healthier life, just a different life, more outdoors, more fresh air. The air in Scotland is like, there's just something about it. Like you breathe it in, it's so fresh. There's two major cities. They're very close to each other. Glasgow and Edinburgh are basically the shorter distance than New York and Philly. If you like football, you got your teams up here. If you like music, there's always a healthy music scene here. I actually have a Scottish flag tattooed on the inside of my arm here. Yeah, it's just great. Food here is great. Scottish breakfast. Get outside the US, you're like, oh my God, this is oxygen. Dude, there is something though, Tyler. It's like, and you're no stranger to the way I feel about the United States government. But I get out of the US and I'm just like, oh God, it's so much. And I'm not one of those people that does not like realize there is so much about living in the US that I'm fortunate. Like Americans, we don't realize how convenient our lives are and the convenience that we have to things like, for example, just in comics. I've told you already, I've been to most of the comic stores in Scotland and most of the comic stores in London. You can go to Portland for a week and maybe not hit all the comic stores in Portland, Oregon. And that's one town. So we are very fortunate to have the abundance of the things that we have. Comic cons everywhere, local cons, big cons, signings, access to, so much. So that it's not lost on me, but that's different than the American life, which is not something that I take for granted, but there's so much about it that like it just kind of makes me upset when I'm in another country and I'm like step outside the US for a bit. That is true. They will batter anything at a chip shop, including Mars bars. The US has been blessed with but not even that, like convenience in certain ways, like like air conditioning isn't everywhere in the UK. It's not even in most places. Like just things that you take for granted, like these little things. Like I've been in, staying in different hotels and Airbnbs. This is the first place I've stayed that there's actually tissues here to blow my nose. I get stuffy. I'll blow my nose. Otherwise, I'm using toilet paper. There's just these little things. But if you're like looking at art and history, Egypt is a must. Actually, I think Egypt is one of the places I would like to see, or at least just like, go for a couple of days, see some of the, Great Pyramids. And, that's the type of stuff that does interest me. Ted Lasso said AC is privilege, not right. And I just watched Ted Lasso was that like 3 weeks ago? I watched it in like 10 days and it was so good. I didn't know that you lived in New Zealand for a few years. See, New Zealand's one of those places I'd really like to visit, but it's one of those things that like I'd have to find something else to do because comics really aren't a huge thing. But it is kind of funny, like I do really want to move here at some point in my life. And, I've said it in the last year to friends and stuff, and I don't think I've said it on the streams or anything, but I like my 10-year plan is to save up money and move to Scotland. But now I'm thinking like, I don't know how feasible it would be to run a comic shop in Edinburgh, but I'd love to try my hand at it because like there is literally one comic store that sells back issues. So all I would have to do is like, get a crate, a container, and ship over, whatever, 40, 50,000 books and open up a little shop and then just like use the YouTube channel to kind of branch out into the UK and try and get collections to come into the shop or go pick up collections. Like there aren't obviously as many comics over here as the US, but more and more come here every week. Obviously new issues, but also, people buy books. They have them shipped here, but it would be a really nice thing to kind of like, retire here or start a comic store here for 10 years and then retire. Especially in a place where I know that it's not even like the competition, but it's like, I wouldn't look at it as competition. I would just look at it as trying to grow that that community. Hello, Brixical. How did I have Glaswegians here? This is awesome. How'd you find me? Being in Okinawa and Korea, couldn't wait to get back. If there was a tourist, though, I'd probably have. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I know I could live in this country. I already have friends here. I already know people. I've already been here, but like, couldn't imagine living in a place that I've never been to multiple times. Jesse Lynch, afternoon broadcast outdoors with Dave Engines. What could be better? Oh, awesome. Well, that's great. Yeah, I'm in the Isle of Skye in Scotland right now, Jesse. So it's it's 11 o'clock at night, and it's still a little light out, but yeah, this is interesting doing this like in a totally different time zone. So oh, awesome. Well, I appreciate it. I love, well, if you're gonna find out over the next couple of weeks how much I fucking love this country. This is my, like, for you people that are just joining, Jesse and Brick, this is my 4th time here in Scotland, and yeah, it's just a place that I've always loved. And Skye is beautiful. Even when it's raining, it's beautiful. I mean, it's magical. There's a lot of creative people that have come out of Scotland, and people that continue to create here. Like I said, Neil Gaiman, my favorite author, my favorite comic book writer, he has a place here in Skye, and it's so beautiful. I wish I had more time here. I'm probably, next time I come back, I'll spend a week here. So there was some gathering of the golden retrievers in Scotland. Is that a real thing? Kind of gathering of golden retrievers in Scotland. Holy shit, that's real. What? Well, I want to be surrounded by golden retrievers. I love golden retrievers. What the fuck? Oh. Anyway, I'm gonna just Google it. Yeah, and I reached out to Mark Miller, but he wouldn't lie to me. You didn't. It was 3 days ago. Mark Miller, one of my favorite it's funny. I never meant to gravitate towards Scottish creators, artists, whatever. Mark Miller, like I said, a bunch of Scottish bands, but like Danny Boyle's one of my favorite directors. He's Scottish. One of our favorite actors. All of us, we all love Ewan McGregor. He's Scottish. James McAvoy, he's Scottish. Professor X. Anyway, yeah, I've always loved this place, and I didn't know I was going to love this place until I met my friend Scott. So, isn't that the Guinea? I think you spelled Guinness wrong, but Guinea's world records would be guinea pigs. How many guinea pigs gathered? If I haven't seen it anywhere, Beats of War is a really good indie Scottish comic. I have not. Beats of War. Okay. It's interesting. Like, speaking of war comics, Ennis writes a lot of war comics. He's Irish, but it's interesting because I was talking to somebody at a comic store yesterday about Highland Laddie, which is the miniseries that offshoot of The Boys. And when I originally read The Boys as it was coming out, Highland Laddie must have come out probably, I don't know, like the early 2000s, like 2000 or maybe mid 2000s, like 2006, 2007. And I had not been to Scotland. And so I want to reread Highland Laddie because uh, the verbiage of written Scottish lingo is a lot tougher to understand to me. But when I'm hearing somebody speak it and like you can, like the first time I came here, it wasn't super tough for me to understand what people were saying. Names were the hardest. I would have to have people repeat their names, but but reading it is a lot tougher. So when I was reading Highland Laddie, I was like, I don't know what the fuck half of this stuff is, the verbiage. But now I want to read it again. Plus, there's probably a lot of stuff in there that settings and stuff that I've seen and been to that I'd like to know. I can't get over how bad that thing smells, but it tastes really good. Can tell how much you drink. All right, so wait, Beats of War. I'm just going to Google it and leave that window open so that I can check it out and remember to buy it. We have a dialect just called Scots too. It's sad very few people speak Gaelic here. Yeah, I don't think I've heard more than like 2 or 3 people speaking Gaelic since I've been over here. And I don't think I've heard it too many times in all the times that I've been here. So, but it's funny because the first time I had trouble understanding somebody's name in Scotland, it was this guy that I met and we were talking. I was like, "Hey, I'm Dave." He's like, "I'm Dan." I'm like, "Oh, Dan." He's like, "No, Dan." I'm like, "Dan?" He's like, "No, Darren." I'm like, "Oh, Darren." But like it's funny because I watched Mark Miller's podcast, Miller Time. And I was talking with a couple of my friends when we met up in Edinburgh. It's just funny. It's just yeah, see? You, Scottish people, I think they just don't want to speak as much, so they just leave off syllables, and that's all it is. And when you hear Mark Miller speak, he just like kind of tails off. He was also like drinking during it, but anyway, I love listening to him talk. He's a really candid person. If you get a chance, if you're looking for something to watch on YouTube, just go to his channel and watch his interviews. I mean, he talks to his pals. He did like a 3-hour interview with Frank Whiteley, and it's like listening to the two of them talk. If you don't understand what they're saying, it's maddening, but it's also awesome. But he has a really good chat with Sean Gordon Murphy, Jeff Johns. So yeah, you should watch that. Definitely somebody that, and he's really candid about. So Miller, obviously, if you're not familiar with Mark Miller or Mark Millar, superstar writer, Civil War, Old Man Logan, all these big, the Ultimates, all these big things in Marvel. But then when he started doing his own creator-owned stuff, it was Kick-Ass, it was Nemesis, it was Wanted, Jupiter's Legacy, Jupiter's Sending. But he sold his publishing company. He sold all the like rights and all the Miller World stuff to Netflix a couple years back for a shit ton of money. But the coolest thing that happened out of that was everybody that worked on those books was part owner creator. So like for Nemesis for Nemesis, Steve McNiven and whatchamacallit and Mark are co-creators. So McNiven got half of the money for that. So like he got all these fucking people paid out the ass. Like John Romita Jr. got paid out the ass for Kick-Ass. I really need to reread Jupiter because I liked it. I never finished the whole thing. Yeah, Kick-Ass, the first Kick-Ass movie was great. I mean, fucking gave us Chloe Moretz in that one line where she's like, all right, you cunts. It was like she was what, 10 at the time? It was hilarious. Um, yeah, so Miller, I mean, like, people don't talk about how not only important he is, but like how smart he was and took care of everybody. Like him and he jokes around with some of these artists and stuff on his podcast about how like none of them have to work anymore. And like Lenny Francis Yu was like, yeah, I don't. It's like I could just do what I want for the rest of my life. That kind of money, whatever it was for Superior. And maybe there was one other book they did together. But I really enjoyed like the first 6 or 7 different books that came out from Miller World, and then kind of stopped reading them because they were kind of very formulaic. Like Secret Service is great, which ends up being the fucking franchise Kingsman, Jupiter, Nemesis, Wanted, Kick-Ass. I feel like there's a couple others I really liked. Huck was fun, but I don't remember it. Like I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember anything about it. And then Starlight with Gordon Parlov was enjoyable, but I can't remember plot details. But anyway, I don't know how I got started on that. I was talking about Mark Miller. How about Netflix really messing up? Well, that's the thing. Like Jupiter's, it's funny because a lot of people like the adaptation, but I couldn't even get through 2 episodes. I don't. Did Super Crooks ever get made into a thing? I thought that happened. Yeah, they're very unmemorable. Yeah, well, I mean, and I think Miller was, like he tried to help them and guide them with the adaptations, but it's kind of out of his hands at that point. But I agree. Nemesis was one that was supposed to be made into a really good flick, and Joe Carnahan was writing the script, but it fell apart, and they lost like the rights, reverted back, and went to Netflix. Kick-Ass was his only. Well, okay, Wanted was fun. Wanted was fun mostly because of the casting, even though it didn't follow the book. And then Kick-Ass was great. I loved Kick-Ass. That movie still makes me fucking laugh. But yeah, most of his adaptations really didn't do much for me. Got made, but like Jupiter's Legacy, only about 2 episodes are based on the source. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the problem. You're right. I mean, that is see, that's kind of the difference between independent stuff versus like MCU, DCU. Independent stuff really needs to be based on the source material because it's a finite amount. Like Watchmen was the movie was based on the book, 1 for 1 almost. The show was great, but that was genius. That was a very rare circumstance. Sin City, perfectly adapted, obviously, by Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez. 300 was perfectly adapted. That's another finite story, but like you don't have to focus. Like Spider-Man doesn't have to be based off of one thing. It could be based off of 1,000 different pieces of different stories. In Jupiter's, they focus way too much on the old heroes and the origin story, which made no sense, right? Because it's about the kids. Yeah, I don't know. Nemesis would have been really cool. I think they're going to try and redo it because he just rebooted Nemesis. Although I read like the first 2, maybe even I read 3 issues, and I was like forcing myself to enjoy it, and I was not really enjoying it. I still like his writing, but there's just his plot, like the way he plots things out, it's like the fucking same. It's a formula. But I still love him as a writer. If Mark Miller didn't do what he did, along with a bunch of other guys at Marvel, but Miller specifically with Brian Hitch, basically designed the Avengers as they were in the MCU. If you read the Ultimates, you get basically like the blueprint to the MCU, and then Old Man Logan, easily the best Wolverine story of all time. Okay, top 3. Forgot Weapon X exists. But his entire Wolverine run was great. State of the Enemy of the State was so fucking good. And then he did Ultimate Fantastic Four. He did some of everything in the Ultimates except Spider-Man. So yeah, American Jesus, which I never read. That's getting adapted into a Netflix show. They changed the name of it though. I'm not sure what it's called. But excuse me. Anyway, it's really nice. Like I might. So I was thinking just today, for the first time, I was thinking about doing away with Sundave Sitdown as it is, not completely, but maybe shifting it to like once every 2 weeks, or maybe doing it midday on Sunday. I feel like I love seeing new faces in here. There's people in here and we're having good conversation. And maybe it's just better to do it during the day on Sunday or in the afternoon. I don't know. We'll see. Which people would get that not everything needs to be live action, kind of hope and gun. Well, they are doing that first whatever it's called, the Monster Squad. Whatever. I can't remember the name of it. That's going to be animated. I agree. But the problem is, Amber, is that they have to put the money. If they put the same money of live action into animated, then we're going to get great stuff. Spider-Verse, hello. But the caliber of stuff that like Marvel has been putting out for the last like 10 years of animated is garbage. DC's been decent and we're really good. But it also has to do with the fact that like they get great voice talent. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, DC's going to probably do more animated stuff because they have the better studio for it anyway. People sleep on the Ultimates. It was so good. And yeah, I read it as for those first 100%. Yeah, people sleep on the fact that that Miller had the most modern day effect on the MCU. Yeah, obviously Lee and Kirby, and give a little bit to Ditko or Ramita, but yeah, for modern times, 100%. I read all the Ultimate stuff as it was coming out. Like, I didn't buy the single issues, but I remember my friend told me to read Ultimate Spider-Man, so I bought the first trade. It was like maybe like at issue 50 at that point, or 30. And I would every month when those trades came out, whenever it was like 3-4 months, I'd buy it and I'd read it religiously. But I was reading Ultimates when it came out, Ultimate X-Men. That shit's like Ultimate X-Men's the weakest, but that shit was still so much fun because it felt new and fresh. Because it was. You'd be competing with baseball in the afternoon, but if your team sucks, well, if you're a Met fan, that really doesn't matter, does it? Yeah, but well, I don't know. We'll see. I just as of right now, I was just thinking about this today, and I don't mind streaming on vacation. Like, this is great. It's actually dark out. That's nice. There's a lot of me out there right now on a weekly basis. Like, if this was a normal week and I was home, Sunday sit down, Sunday morning video, new episode of the podcast drops Monday mornings at 3:30 a.m. Pacific, and then Wednesday. So it's 4 pieces of me every week. And I love it. I love putting out content, but I'm wondering if maybe something needs to be just cut down a little bit. The podcast is new and fresh. I'm enjoying that. So I don't want to cut that out. The Sunday morning drop is like my weekly episode, and I have more control over the content that I'm putting out. I can be more targeted with the videos on Sunday morning. So this is like the wild card. So maybe every 2 weeks I do it. We'll see. We'll see. Jesse, no. I mean, but you're right, because like also from October to January, I've got football to compete with, which is, I'm not going to win that competition. 10 billion people can't be wrong. There's not even that many people on the planet. Spawn animated series needs to come back. Look, I got to imagine he's planning some animated stuff whenever he finally gets his fucking live action movie off the ground. There's going to be more Spawn stuff than just a movie. There will be either a TV show or animated. It's the greatest animated show that didn't get to fucking flap its wings, right? Like Batman the Animated Series is the GOAT. Like when it comes to animated comic book shows, there is nothing that goes beyond that. But Spawn, if that had gone on for like 5 seasons, I might be like, oh, it's a tough call. Well, I appreciate that. It's really nice to do this at a weird time for me. Also, like a fucking great time for everybody else because UK people can at least watch this knowing that I get to send them to bed, and the East Coast gets me as a post dinner snack, and the West Coast gets me as a lunchtime delight. Yeah, it is a shame. It is, but we get 3 great seasons. Plus, you get those intros by Todd. Fucking doing his best Rod Serling, even though he can't. Well, look, I gotta say, I'm very appreciative to everybody that's watching or has watched tonight or will watch on the replay. Also, really stoked to have some UK people, Scotland and England and beyond, watching this. I really don't like. It's hard for me to gauge the scope of where my reach or whatever you want to call it. I don't think I mentioned this in last week, but Mega City, homie, there was somebody there that recognized me, but he reached out after the fact. He hit me up on Instagram and said that he was right next to me digging through comics. And it's just crazy. Like, I have no clue. Like, if we don't have like an interaction on a daily or weekly basis, which I'm not going to get from everybody, and I don't want that, but I have no idea. You know, like numbers don't tell me like, hey, somebody from Glasgow watches you. That's so cool because I love that. And I want to just be able to like be a comic guy for everybody. Anyway, I don't know. I'm a little loopy. I'm having a really good day. Anyway, I think I'm gonna close the stream out in a couple minutes, but next Wednesday will be my next sale is going to be not till the last Wednesday of the month. So I'm not going to be home this week for it. So all my peeps that are waiting to see what I bring back to buy, you're going to have to wait a little bit. Probably after next weekend, I'm going to start rolling out the videos from this trip. I'm really excited to share. I'm really excited to edit everything. Really excited to bring you along with me to see what I dug through and what I got. And yeah, this has just been a magical trip. And like I said, anybody who's thinking about coming to Scotland, who has been here or wants to get, just do it. It's such a magical place. It's such a magical place. Well, I'm looking forward to bringing them to you. And Ryan, always a pleasure, my friend. I will play it out with the video that I started the episode with. A little. Oh, next to me was a local comic YouTuber. I decided not to bother him. It was a bit. That's all good. I mean, I get it. I get it. I like talking to people, but you know, sometimes when you're in the zone, you're in the zone. I did go to Forbidden Planet, both London and Edinburgh. They're, like I said, they're the hot topic of comic stores. It's all the same stuff. You're not going to find anything, at least for me, I wasn't finding anything interesting. I couldn't even find like a cool, like little pin or keychain to buy that I wanted. They're all boring. Yeah, not for me. Andrew, always a pleasure. And I'll talk to you. Let me know when you listen to the one I sent you. I emailed it to you in Manu. But yeah, I'm going to play the clip that I started out the stream with. It's a song from Frightened Rabbit called Scottish Winds. If you've never listened to Frightened Rabbit, please go. Spotify may change your life. Certainly changed mine. Cheers, Tyler. Love you, my friend. And everybody have a great weekend, great week. And I'll see you soon.
Come gather in my lungs, Scottish wind. Belt out your blackest poems as the sea around you sings. When that drone takes to the air, single note to raise my hair. Carry songs beyond my lungs, cold Scottish wind. Come fall upon my shoulders, Scottish rain, and dissolve all of the worry that has hunched this back of mine. So let the hurt run down the drain to the reservoir.